So today we're doing a really special project. We've decided this year to focus on our ancestry and honouring our ancestors quite a bit. So we've tied that in with our Remembrance Day celebrations. And Anthony has a worksheet to fill in, which we've downloaded from Twinkle, so he'll be doing that. And then I have some research on my great uncle, Walter Pritchard, who was my nan's brother on my maternal side. He was born around March 1916, and we're still trying to access his records to determine the exact date. And he died in Italy on the 20th of June 1944, and he is buried in the Barry War Cemetery there. And his death is actually down on the certificate as an accident. Now, Barry was the base of at least 3 British military hospitals, plus hospitals for New Zealand and Canadian soldiers too. So we don't quite know what happened or what this accident was, how he was injured, or how long he was in hospital for. But we do know a few facts and quite a bit of speculation, but it makes for an interesting story. So, there was a massive explosion in the harbour in December 1943 when the John Harvey was hit during an air raid. It was carrying, allegedly, a cargo of mustard gas shells, and it was kept secret so that Hitler couldn't accuse the Allies of engaging in chemical warfare, which was banned after World War One. And apparently it was just a fallback in case Hitler had used it again. So it's believed that a lot of the casualties from that were misdiagnosed and mistreated, as the hospitals were not actually informed what they'd been in contact with. And it was months before the hospitals were actually notified. Apparently one of the uncles in our family knew a bit more detail about that. However, we only found out about the explosion after that uncle died. So he was, and I'll show you a picture here, Anthony. That's who we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put up a screen grab for you guys so you can see who I'm talking about as well. So Anthony, this is Walter Pritchard, and this was your great uncle. He was Trooper Walter Pritchard of the 10th Hussars, RAC in the Tanks Regiment, and his regiment number was 3718862. Okay? And you're going to write about him on this form here. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay? He was Trooper Walter Pritchard. So you're writing Trooper Walter Pritchard. So them 3 words there, okay? Yeah?
Okay.
Trooper Walter Pritchard. His date of birth, and up here we know that he was born around March 1916. Place of birth, so you put Liverpool in there. And today, this candle represents Walter Pritchard, and that one represents Alexander Pritchard, who I will discuss briefly in another moment as well. So, unfortunately, we don't have a photograph for Alexander Pritchard, born the 2nd of August 1886 to the 2nd of June 1916, and he was in the Liverpool King's Regiment. He was in
Wait.
the 5th Battalion, Regiment number 2712, and he was part of a raiding party that actually came under friendly fire when they were out in no man's land. And do you know what friendly fire is? That's when your own soldiers shoot at you, not realising they're shooting at people who are on their team. So the barrage meant for the enemy trenches ahead of the raid fell short and 10 died. 6 were recovered and buried at Whaley Cemetery. And the War Diary is actually on my mum's ancestry page, and I have printed off some snippets of that War Diary here. And Anthony and I will be flicking through the War Diary entries later on, because there's some interesting snippets of information in there that I'd like him to see.
Wait, so he died against that from his own mates?
It doesn't mention any names of who actually died during that, but it does describe the action over those days and how the casualties happened. And yes, Alexander Pritchard did die during those days. Now, we do have a potential picture for that raiding party from the regiment at Whaley. However, we are unsure whether it's Alexander Pritchard or not. And they had trained for that particular operation for a few days or weeks before, according to the War Diary. So we do suspect that this photo is him, but we're waiting to confirm that. And Nanny's going to get back to me when she can. The conclusion after the loss of those men was that there needed to be a greater distance maintained on future raids to avoid it happening again. And that shows that during the process of the war, they were still learning and still making regular mistakes as well. Alexander Pritchard, right, was Walter Pritchard's dad, okay? And Walter Pritchard was Nanny Lunt, her mum's first husband. So, Nanny Lunt's mum was married to Alexander Pritchard, right? And then after being married to Alexander Pritchard, because he died in this war that we're talking about now, she then remarried again, and to this other man that she then had children with. Yeah? And they were the Hutchinsons. I'll try and draw it out for you. Let's see. So we've got, right, you here, so Anthony here, right, and above you, yeah, you have your dad, yeah, and me, your mum, yeah. So your dad and your mum. From me, you have Grandad Wilcox, my dad. And you've got Nanny Wilcox.
But from my dad?
My mum. But the people we're talking about now are on this side of the family. Okay, and then from Nanny, you have Nan Lunt and Grandad Lunt. Yeah? Okay. From Nan Lunt, you have her mum and her dad, right? Her mum, before she married her dad, was married to someone else. Yeah? So husband number 1. Yeah? So, my great-granddad, your great-great-granddad, was husband number 2. And that's who she had Nan Lunt with. However, she'd already had children with her first husband. And so this is Alexander Pritchard, husband number 1. And then her children, she had a few with him. But the one we were talking about before was, can you remember his name? Walter Pritchard.
Mm.
So these two here, my nan and her older brother Walter Pritchard, are technically half siblings, but I'm not a fan of that term really. But it does help when you're working out family trees to use them, I guess, because it explains the different relationships, okay?
But for me,
So the one we've learned about before that you did the worksheet on was Walter Pritchard and siblings. He was my nan's sibling, okay? Yeah? Did you see how it works? How it goes up the different layers?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So,
Can I say decent?
well, let me just explain this to you. Now, my nan's biological dad, okay, which was husband number 2, remember us saying. So her dad, she never actually mentioned if he ever suffered any injuries, but he did die of lung cancer in 1962, and he worked as an ARP warden in World War II, and he played a very big role in that because he was fighting the fires at the docks almost every night. And he was also a veteran of the Second Boer War in 1901 till 1902 in South Africa. So we had a long history. I mean, even Grandad Lunter I mentioned before, my mum's dad, he said that his dad had quite extensive and radical surgery due to the mustard gas poisoning. He has extensive stomach ulcers, and they removed his stomach, they dealt with them and then replaced it again. And that in the 20s and 30s must have been quite an ordeal, as that kind of surgery was actually in its infancy. So it came with a lot of risks because they were still learning. And he lost his job due to ill health, but it was only later that he then managed to get on the trams. He died in 1943 as a result of his war injuries, but apparently the cut-off of the Commonwealth War graves was about 1921. So we outlived the cut-off for it. So we've now discussed 4 relatives, haven't we, that were all involved in these wars. But what united them all, was horses. They were all involved with horses except for Walter Pritchard. Because obviously his unit with the tanks were the progression to replace horses and gun carriages. So, still related in a way. But yeah, all the others were all involved with horses during the war. So we're back now, and we're starting our PowerPoint on the paper poppy. Should we get going, Ant?
Yeah.
So, Remembrance Day is held on the 11th of November, which is the 11th day of the 11th month of the year. And a 2-minute silence is always held at 11 a.m. to remember the millions who have died in wars. And we're going to do our 2-minute silence, aren't we? So, poppies are worn on Remembrance Day. And this is because they are the flowers that grew on the battlefields after the First World War ended. So they just all sprung up where all the people had died. So paper poppies are worn to remember animals who have died in wars. Many animals such as horses, dogs and pigeons were used in the First World War to help soldiers fight, move heavy items and deliver messages. So, people who wear a paper poppy believe an animal service to the war was important and they want to honour that. So, we now know why we wear paper poppies. Shall we make some paper poppy pins so we can honour some animals?
Yeah.
High five.
I want to honour Stampy.
Okay, that's fine. You can honour Stampy with your one.
Because Stampy saved their life about 1,000,000 times.
It's Stubby, isn't it?
Stubby?
Yeah.
Stubby, yeah. He saved millions of lives of the army like 10,000,000 times.
You did save a lot of lives, didn't
He
you?
bit a bomb.
So should we call Nimway in for this one?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back. And our next craft.
I'm with him. We are doing paper puppets for the animals.
Yeah, we are. So do you two want to crack on with making them?
I don't do one.
Do you remember how they go?
Yeah, put
The
that
black one on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to stick your pin through the black one?
And then this one.
Yeah, so you stick it through that first.
Now she can fly.
Well done!
Now she can fly.
Right, now, May, do you want to show the camera yours? And you need to move your leaf higher up because the leaf always goes at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay? So we need it about there. Yeah?
But it's 30 o'clock.
It's 11 o'clock it goes.
This.
Yeah!
Mine is paper. As you know, I look.
Good.
That's the top.
Yeah, that's about right, yeah. Yay! That looks awesome, Nim. Do you want to put it here?
Yeah.
For honouring the horses and all the other animals. What's your favourite animal? The horses, the dogs, or the birdies?
All of them.
All of them. Oh, good choice. High five, Nim. You've done brilliant there. High five, Ant. Right, and Anthony is cooking tonight's tea. Today is quite a reflective day all around. Yes, it's a day where we honour our fallen ancestors and all those who died in both world wars. However, I always find myself also thinking of those who were involved in continuing conflicts globally. Anthony is cooking this evening's meal and is treating us to a recipe that was published by the Ministry of Food during the rationing period on leaflet number 35. It is a one-pot sausage roll recipe that looks nothing like a sausage roll and more like a pork meatloaf. How we as a nation ate during World War II has been well publicised through shows such as Wartime Farm. However, it is not the same as experiencing those meals directly for yourself. Hands-on experiential learning is a key component of any educational journey. Your first step is to chop up your leek, Ant. Right, go on, Ant.
So I'm going to start cutting.
Right, go on, Ant. Watch your fingers.
Also, go and check out some of our other cooking videos.
Yeah, we've done quite a few now, haven't we? Good idea, Anthony.
My favourite one is where me, William and Tyler started cooking.
They come down with HE videos. I like them ones too.
The one where William had to wear glasses.
He was funny, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Putting on goggles to cut onions with. Right, and now Anthony is cutting the onion up.
Eyes watering time.
Okay, now you need to put all the ingredients into the blender.
So,
Yeah, all lemon. And now you want your 90 grams of breadcrumbs in. And now you want some of your mixed herbs in, so put a teaspoon of mixed herbs in. And then now you want a pinch of the sea salt.
Oh, Fortnite dance, so you got a pinch.
It
That's Fortnite dance.
is. So, and now it's 2 tablespoons of your stocking. And then you need a little bit of black pepper. Just a little bit. Right, so now you put your lid on, and then do you want to put it on top of the blender machine? Yeah, clever lad. Bear with me, I'll just move it closer to you. And then right, Anthony, do you now want to put it all back in the bowl?
Yeah, now.
Right, Anthony, do you want to cover the top of that with some tin foil?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to place that now in the pan of hot water on the stove? But be very careful, I'd hold it round the top if I was you. Well done. So that's going to take an hour and a half.
It's
What do you think?
glaring on my glasses, I can't see.
Sorry. So what do you think of the sausage roll?
Oh,
Awesome.
it's nicer than it was yesterday.
No, come on. What you've just been raving about it. What do you think, Ant?
Good.
What was that?
What's that?
Anthony, that is actually really, really nice. I am well impressed.
Thank you.
I was really nervous with this one, but it's absolutely beautiful.
Look, this one was bad, and that was good.
It's lovely. So go on, what did you think of the sausage meat?
It was really nice.
What do you think, Ty?
I haven't tried it yet.
Go on, have a bite, 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 have a bite. Have a bite.
Mum,
Have a bite.
right. No, cut it
Mum's
here.
new catchphrase.
Mum.
Have a bite.
So go on, what do you think?
I haven't tried it.
Have a bite.
Look,
Mum,
this is what happens
Mum.
to you. This is what happens
cut
to you.
it and put 10 million years from bloody sponge.
Mum, this is what happens when you bite it.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Ty?
I haven't tried it yet.
Eat it, eat it.
I would say I could pull that face too, but I'd rather not.
What do you think?
Do you
Oh,
want
right.
some broccoli? Do you want some broccoli, Jack?
So today, Nimue and Daddy are making jam roly-poly. For this recipe, we need 50 grams of salted butter, cold and cut into chunks, with a bit extra for greasing. 250 grams of self-raising flour, plus extra for dusting and rolling. 1 vanilla pod, or half a teaspoon of vanilla essence, the quality stuff. 50 grams of shredded suet. 150 ml of milk, plus a drop more if required. And 100 grams of raspberry jam, or whatever jam you prefer the flavour of, with custard to serve. So we've already measured everything out for Nimue. So Nimue, if you want to pull that big bowl back in front of you. It's really hard getting both of you in because you're so tall. Right, so the first step is to tip the butter, the flour and your vanilla pods into the bowl. And now you're going to mix it up. Right, Right, do you want to add the suet in? Okay, so now it's 150 ml of milk.
Okay, so remember, not all in one go, a little bit at a time. A bit more than that.
I'll mix it.
Put it down carefully because you need the rest of it.
Pour the next bit in. You pour and I'll stir at this bit. That'll do.
Well, that is some multitasking right there, Nimue.
Mix it, and mix it. Now, when it's time to scrunch it all up, my hands with it.
Really?
Yeah. Why?
And that is the next step.
Is it?
Yeah, scrunching it up with your hands into the dough.
Can I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Judge. I'm making it dough. And
You are. Keep it over the bowl. Don't want to lose any. And we best quickly clean up because the next job is to roll it out onto the work surface. And now you're going to put your dough on top of it. And now you're going to roll it out into a rectangle shape. So the next step is to start applying your jam, okay? And what you want to do is leave about an inch gap on one end of it, and then that's the end that you're going to roll towards, okay? Because that becomes your seal at the end.
We'll leave that.
Right, you're going to roll, get your roll on. No, not with that, with your hands. Daddy will show you what we mean.
Right, when we make a cheese swirl,
roll it. And then we roll it to this.
And then now we need to seal it.
And then we do the roll with it.
No, we don't need that rolling pin again. What's your thoughts on it,
Nice.
Anthony?
Good.
Nimue, what did you think of your pudding?
I didn't even taste it yet.
Have a bite! Tyler, what do you think of it?
Sad man about you.
Tyler? Is it nice? What do you think?
I'm done.
Awesome.
You already.
I think this is absolutely delicious. I am loving it.
I didn't.